Hey guys, so before I get into the review itself, I just want to quickly take a moment in order to address something I had said in my previous review, because I don't think I articulated it as well as I should have. Which is the whole deal with which is the whole deal with Weiss and him having and him having and him gaining ether gear. Like the because just to be clear, the problem with it for me is not Weiss actually gaining ether gear. In terms of like logical progression, it yes, he Homura, they pretty much all trained in order to awaken that power. Again though, where I do need to kind of like really nail it home though is I have a problem with the emotional buildup. Like if you look back, like again, like drawing a comparison to like the Super Saiyan transformation, if you look back at at Goku and how his transformation into Super Saiyan was so built up, and how with Shiki his awakening of his ether gear was so massively built up. There, when it first happened for these people, when it first happened for Goku with Super Saiyan and Shiki with his Satan gravity ether gear overdrive, it was a very emotional moment. But with these with the ones but with Weiss specifically, because of how Mashima formats his fights, the emotional buildup just wasn't there for me. Like that's pretty much it, guys. It was just all the emotional buildup. That's pretty much all it amounted to for me. It had nothing. It all made sense logically, but emotionally it just wasn't there for me. Um, but okay, so jumping right into this chapter, we learn what leads to Rebecca. We basically learn more or less what's going to lead to Rebecca losing her legs, which is that in this fight she's currently in with Lyra, she essentially loses loses by the rules of Lyra's twisted card game, meaning the moment she loses her clothes, she loses her legs, which in typical Mashima fashion for this series is both hilarious yet sadistic at the same time. In fact, credit where it's due. On top of this being another case of Mashima using fan service creatively, this chapter finally did get me to pay attention to Lyra as a credible threat and just generally take her more seriously. Also, I might be overthinking it a touch, but just the fact that Mashima drew special attention to the bomb hanging around Rebecca's neck more than once in this chapter makes me believe that even though it is the thing preventing her from just walking away from this fight, I think it's quickly going to turn. I think that's an advantage. That's basically going to turn on Lyra very fast. Like it's like I think that I honestly believe just from Mashima drawing attention to that bomb that that the bomb itself is going to be the biggest liability for Lyra in this fight. Like I have no. I don't know if for sure if the bomb is going to actually play a part, but something just tells me that that tiny bomb is what will ultimately help Rebecca defeat Lyra. Like I think that tiny bomb is going to be what Lyra thought was her ultimate trump card is going to be her ultimate liability in this fight, I think. Um, of course, that's not the only fight that started in this chapter, as we also have another member of the Ocean Six, Calum, and Shiki getting into it. And yeah, I am fascinated to see how Shiki can get out of this one it's it's been a while. It's been a while since I've studied the sciences of matter or anything like that. But to my limited knowledge of what I know about matter and its and changes in matter and all that, gaseous matter cannot be affected by gravitational force, or at best gravity has very little effect on it. And if that is the case, then Calum is quite literally the worst opponent Shiki could ever have, since he can turn his whole body into fog, mist, whatever it is, which will basically be unaffected by gravity. And again, rendering any use of Shiki's ether gear pretty much near impossible in terms of in terms of affecting Keelam. And honestly, from just from studying the setup of this fight, I think for Shiki, this is going to be all a battle of timing, wherein it's all going to depend on that very split second or the very moment that Prince Caleb reforms himself to attack is when Shiki has to strike back. But honestly, even then, I'm not so sure because that's really the only solution I've got for this particular matchup. Like, again, Caleb versus Shiki is kind of one of those where I'm like, how the hell is Shiki going to get out of this one? Like, really, like when you get down to it, again, Caleb is basically Shiki's worst enemy. He's the absolute worst enemy he can have ever. The fact that Caleb can transform himself into this into that gaseous form already means he's invulnerable to at least a large majority of Shiki's powers. So again, I think this again the only thing that makes sense to me right now is that this is going to be a battle of timing, and that Shiki has to time his attacks perfectly to exactly when Caleb reforms himself, and that split second before Caleb attacks Shiki. So it's like, yeah, I think this is going to be probably I think it's really going to be one of Shiki's closest the closestly matched fights he's had in a while, honestly. Um, with that said, let's talk about the battle in space because one of the obvious things to note is that Justice is pretty much mowing down everyone. And at the rate Justice is going, it's looking like he might very well be the one to reach Nero first. Sorry, he's going to be the one in order to reach Shura first, which I will see as somewhat of a relief, but I also have my concerns as well. I see it as a relief where as much as I may dislike Justice, I have to acknowledge that until Shiki can make it to Shura himself, I do have to admit that Justice is probably the only one strong enough to fight Shura right now. Again, at least until Shiki can get there. Where my concerns crop up, however, is that Justice, as we've known him, is such a goddamn hardliner that from the moment he sees Shura and the captured witch together, I know exactly how that confrontation is going to play out. He'll most likely evaluate the situation in his usual hard completely focused logical way and possibly kill Witch even before Shura does in an attempt to take away the hostage before moving on to Shura himself. Like, to him, I think any hostage would be considered a liability towards him defeating Shura. So unless Justice has some spark of actual development where he finds a way to get Witch away from Shura without killing her, then Shiki needs to pick up the pace as fast as he can, because I don't trust leaving Witch's fate in the hands of that white-haired hardliner at all right now. Now, on the flip side of that, we also have Creed more or less teaming up with Homer at the end of the chapter, which I will say on that is there's so much buddy cop potential in having those two team up together. I'm already kind of laughing at the possibility. Like, no joke, just the thought of them of Creed and Homer teaming up, just these two, I don't know what to call it, I don't think the word is inept, but just overall just weirdly quirky personalities. Yeah, there's some fun to be had there. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.